What's up, guys? This is Noah Martin, aka Steel Manor with Steam First, and today I'm really excited to bring you my first video impressions. And today we are looking at A New Reckoning. I am very, very disappointed to be doing this game for my first video. But later, more on that later. First, let's get into the game a little bit. New Reckoning is a game that was kickstarted by Panzer Games, and it was advertised to be a horror FPS with great monsters, a lot of gunplay, some interesting factors like spells and things like that should mix up the gameplay. Unfortunately, we got very little, if any of that. But first, let's dive into the story. I have no idea. I honestly don't. I'm not sure what's going on other than what I've seen in the trailers, which is some zombies get loose, there's some natural disasters, the world's gone to hell, you know the typical stuff. But from what I've played, and which I'll get into a little more in a minute, I can't make a tangible story other than you've been in a car accident and you need to somehow fight off these monsters that are just coming from everywhere. I honestly can't, from what I've been given, distinguish a story. So I guess we'll move on to the gameplay. Or what I like to think of is the lack of gameplay. Because what I was given to look at was extremely unplayable, as you are probably seeing on screen right now. Everything was glitchy. Nothing worked. The cutscenes, they were awful. The guns had no recoil. They didn't seem to be doing any damage. And one of the things I was actually really excited about this game is the enemy variation actually looked really, really interesting. And a lot of the different spells that it looked like you were able to do looked really, really cool. The problem was none of it worked. What I was told this game was going to be had nothing. For the basic reason that it was either so glitchy that nothing worked, or when it did work, it just wasn't fun. The monsters took way too much bullets to kill or didn't die at all. The gunplay wasn't fun, wasn't what it was supposed to be. The spells didn't work whatsoever. It was just, it wasn't fun to play, and it was broken, and when it did work, it wasn't fun. Because you died instantly, and then, this was probably the most frustrating part. I might have actually given this game a little more credit if it would have keep letting me try to fight these impossible to kill monsters, as you're seeing right now. If it weren't that every time you die, you have to start from the very beginning of some awful, awful cutscene that I probably watched 8 times, and I want to spare you that, but it was bad. And then also, an issue is the presentation. The graphics are clearly dated. And one thing is that is Panzer Games, the people who made the game, they were saying that they wanted to make a AAA game on a low budget, but looking just graphically, they didn't quite get there. The graphics look dated, the monsters look dated, the animations are awkward, the sound is awful, the guns don't sound good, the audio is particularly bad. Overall, it's not well put together whatsoever. So after looking at this, I was actually really excited to play this game. And when I just was met with this awful, buggy, terrible, unplayable mess, I started to look online to see, was this what everyone else was getting? And for the most part, yes. Yes, this was what everyone else was getting. But then I found a few videos on YouTube to where the heads-up display looked different. And some of the different enemies behaved a little differently. And that's when I started to get the impression that maybe I wasn't actually given the newest version. So obviously, wanting to give a fair impression, I watched a couple hours worth of other people play this game. And from what I can tell, even if I would have been given the version I should have, well, let me scratch that. Even if I was given the newest version, quite honestly, it's a basic to mediocre game, even at that. The guns still would have no kickback. The enemies would still take bullets, and the enemies would still clip into the player until the player dies. Plus, no spells whatsoever to be seen. It looks like everyone else who's playing the newest version of the game, abandoned spells completely, which was a huge turnoff for me. The guns didn't look like they were any better. The gunplay didn't look any better. And basically the only difference is that it would be a playable game. The one that I got was a buggy, glitchy mess, as you can see on the screen right now. Buggy, glitchy mess, unplayable. But really the only thing the newer game has is that it's playable. And even at being playable, it's not fun. It's not anything new. It's not good to look at. Because some games are at least pretty to look at, and it's just not. The presentation is poor. The story is poor. And the gameplay, which was the only thing I was expecting to carry this game, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. The gunplay wasn't fun. The horror aspect, the only horrifying thing was how bad those models were, and how they got clipped into your face. Even in the newest version. You can go look up the videos yourself. Unfortunately, I cannot put those in this video for obvious reasons, but you can see for yourself. Even in workable conditions, this game is disappointing. Honestly, it's disappointing, and I hate to say that I'm not surprised, because I did have some trouble with keys regarding this game, but even with that, I wasn't expecting something this bland, this thrown together, and quite honestly, this unfun. So I'm going to leave a little bit two impressions. One, I'm going to tell you, obviously, you heard of the version I got. Buggy, awful, utterly unplayable. Legitimately unplayable. However, I'm going to leave the second impression for the version I watched a couple hours of. It's playable. That's the only thing it has over what I got, is you can play it. Is it fun? Honestly, it doesn't look fun. The guy playing it didn't seem to be having fun. Then again, I can't give my full word towards that because that's not what I was given. It continued to have some of the issues that were present in mine. Enemies clipped into you, enemies clipped into walls. The guns had no gunplay. The ammo was scarce, unreasonably difficult at parts. It was awful. It was bad. The good thing, if there is a good thing, the good thing is that this game is early access. So I mean, there could be a chance for this game being turned around and actually be put into a decent experience. Do I think that's going to happen? I honestly can't say. Maybe this video will be a wake-up call, but then again, I don't know if they're going to even listen to this. But they have a unique opportunity that they can revamp it. And considering this game has been on both Kickstarter and Greenlight and has experienced some backing, means that there is an interest for this game. What they need to do is take that interest for the game, and heck, if they went back to Kickstarter and said, hey look, we messed up, let's get some recoil, let's fix up the gunplay, let's fix up the spells, let's make this better. Yes, it's going to take some more money from our backers. Yes, it's not what we wanted it to be, but at least you can say that, hey, we goofed up and we want to make it better. So they're in a unique opportunity where they can do that. Unfortunately, this late in, it's been in early access for a while. I don't know if they're going to, but they are in a unique opportunity where they can change it and they can make this the legitimately good game that I really wanted it to be. Right now, I honestly can't recommend this at all. I'd say completely avoid it. It's disappointing. It's playable. I'm sure if you bought it off Steam, it'd be playable. But even at that, to get it to a playable state, you have to go into files, unzip it, and it's a pretty complex method. Not to lie. Overall, disappointing. Would stay away from right now, unless there were drastic changes. I'm going to leave a link below if you wanna glance at it. I highly recommend that you don't. If there's any sort of interest, I guess you could. Overall, disappointing. This has been my experience with a new Reckoning. Well, thanks for coming along for the ride. This has been my very first Steam first video. I'm hoping to do a little more with videos, and I'm hoping that this will be something that you guys will like. So, keep it here for some great news, for some new reviews, some new giveaways soon, I'm sure, and keep it real.